All right, all right. We are now live, 909 to 99. You know, Rod always got something to say with these numbers. Rod be like the double flip, quarter whistle. you, you be saying all types of stuff, Rod. What's the 99, Rod? Come on.
99, that's to the nines, that's to the finish.
Okay, yeah. See?
But if you dress to the nine, that means you shitty sharp.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Hey, family. Welcome to another episode. This your host, Radiohead Rich. Uh, Welcoming back a regular on the platform. Y'all know this brother. Sick Ape. The Chief. Rod Hayes. Y'all know what y'all want to call Rod Hayes. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Rich. I was
Yo,
checking you out a couple of days ago. My man over here was talking about the Freemasonry and the
oh,
slave
and
trade.
what you thought about that? I would love to know your opinion. What you thought about that?
I didn't get to finish it, but for the part I seen, he was cooking.
Mm.
He was
Yeah,
cooking. He was cooking with fish grease right there. Now that's some hot stuff.
yeah. A lot of some people, I guess the whole white allies thing. Some people get offended. Some people think that's shucking and jiving. You know what I'm saying, Rod?
Look, the truth is the truth, no matter who tell it.
Mm.
The truth don't matter what you look like. The truth just matter about your frequency.
But you know what, right? All right. Since we're having this melanin conversation because of what Robert RFK said at the Senate hearing. So let me ask you, since you've seen the video, some of those images he showed of white people, were those really black people and they changed their complexion, or were those really white dudes or whatever?
Some of them were originally melanated and was whitewashed in what's called the whitewashing of America.
What?
The whitewashing of America was done by the same people he was talking about, the Masons,
Yeah.
the Shriners, the Rosicrucians. They was all collaborating with, they got internal conflict,
Mm.
right? And the internal conflict, they don't agree on philosophical differences. They fight it out as like they use sorcery, but it plays out academically more than it does any other way.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's how the secret society forced the brothers to continue to educate themselves and to grow. And whatever the condition is, when you get to a certain level of learning, you can see through all the illusions. That's why we were supposed to educate ourselves out of the condition and not go to bloody warfare.
Right.
Because once you educate yourself out of the condition now, you don't have to fight. You can say what you need to say in the public domain, and they know who you is. They know what your blood right is. They try to play like they got amnesia, like they don't know who he is. They know exactly who he is, and they know exactly that we back for everything they owe, and it's just so happened they owe us everything. So they can play retarded, slow. They can play low IQ. You know what I'm saying? They can play buck dance, jump around like but they not tricking us no more. None of the fear tactics is working. Right? That's why Joe Rogan retired, because fear factor don't work no more.
There you go.
If fear factor don't work no more, what you do next? You get on the podcast with a radio head and you tell them, since the fear factor ain't working, we about to break up out of this cocoon because they think that the fear factor gonna keep us subjugated. We ain't even falling for it no more. People more concerned about talking to their elders about the history that's been covered up now than they are to listening to anything that the government got to say.
Yeah.
And I've been saying it all week. The youth got it now. Them youngsters and caught a hold of it and went and started asking some of their elders, and they telling them, and they telling them tribes they from, the struggle of the tribe, how they lost their identity to the paper genocide. They tell, especially in the South, they heating up down there. They heat up down there.
I had a dude that well, I'll talk about that later. But listen, so Rod, so to start the show, and I was watching something. For those who don't know, Trump got Robert RFK on his team. I don't know if it's the Department of Health or he's on Trump's team in some regards in terms of health. and I was watching a Senate hearing, and he was getting grilled. He was on a hot seat. It was a black woman, and it was weird because the black woman, he was like kind of talking in favor to what some of Dr. Laila Africa was saying, and the black woman was like kind of like trying to get at him. So it was a weird switch role. The roles was like switched or whatever. But he was talking about that thing that got everybody's channel suspended in 2020. And I'm not going to say the name because
we got you. We know what's up.
Yeah, RFG said, and y'all know the video got taken down and all of that. But he was saying how our genetics is different, based in a nutshell, and that's why those folks in the white coats, I'm not going to say their names, can't treat us the same way they treat their own people. They have to treat us differently because of our different genetics. So it's a huge, and you know, a lot of people are upset because they're like, well, that's why black women are dying in the hospital, because the doctors think they motherfucking superwoman and they're not treating them the way they need to be treated. That's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is like, yo, we are different. We have to get treated differently because we are different. We have to, you know, whatever. So, Rod, I want to go historical. I'm not necessarily, because like I said, I don't want to.
Right, I'm with you.
Flag the channel or something like that, but it's just constantly since the time I was born, you always hear about race, black, white. You see Rodney King, you see this. It's when you white, sometimes you could ignore it because you ain't got to go through shit in terms of race-related issues. But when you black, that shit is in your face all the time. You could ignore it and act like you're oblivious to it, or you could accept it and decide whether or not you're gonna triumph over it. Some people don't fall victim to it. Other people, such as myself, says I'm greater than that. I'm literally God incarnate in human form. So not even racism, white supremacy, nothing could stop this train from rolling. So there's different ways to go on about it. But Rod, to go way back, I was talking to what's the brother's name? Q Reeves, and he was talking about the root races. I'm trying to figure out, when did all this shit start? How did we even get from spirit to dragon form? Niggas said we was dragons. Then they said we was this. Then we was that. We was green and we was this. That all of a sudden we became brown. Let's talk about the root races a little bit. And I know you told me Madame Blavatsky talked about that. What can you tell me about the root races on planet Earth, Rodriguez?
Okay, I'm gonna give you a good example. You know, you got the sign Bushman, right?
Yeah.
And you got the pygmy.
Uh-huh.
These are two of the oldest root races on the planet. They both little people. They both melanated, but they not the same people. Right? And the Khoisan is a couple thousand years older, I think, than the pygmy or the Twa.
Right.
Right? So we talking first and second root race.
Mm-hmm.
When we talking root race, this is how they got us separated in the Darwinian evolutionary theory. Homo sapien, Homo erectus, Homo habilis, Homo Cro-Magnon man. All of these different subgroups are different what they call races. Now I got a sidetrack on the race philosophy because the race is the way the war is being fought. The turn everybody against the ones who is the birthright heirs. Was the intent. The skin color paradigm was used, but the caste system was applied through skin color. When you remember that they wouldn't have let us into any institutions, Dr. Neely Fuller told us 9 areas of people activity, add health, you got 10, right? They used that race dynamic and superiority and inferiority complexes to control people. Most of us don't know that all of those mulattoes from the South marry pale faces in the North when they escaped after the so-called Emancipation Proclamation. Right? That's what the whole purpose of that movie, Imitation of Life, is, to show you that a lot of us, we went off path and became big celebrities in Hollywood and on Broadway and some of the plays that traveled the world, right? They was passing.
Give me an
But
example. Somebody who was passing. Give me an example.
Elvis Presley, John Wayne, Marilyn Monroe, J. Edgar Hoover. I can sit there and do this until I'm blue in the face. And some of the people, they be like, he wasn't passing. They was passing. Elvis' mama was an octoroon.
They could keep Elvis, man. They could keep Elvis around.
Hey, look, I don't care what they do with him.
But his mom was an octoroon.
Yeah. But we got because we have to remember that this is God's crucible. What do you do in a crucible, Brother Rich?
What?
A crucible. What is it for? Another name for a crucible is the great melding pot. What do you do in a melding pot?
You mix.
Yeah, you mix metals. In this case, platinum group metals in the human family. The different root races is applied as a different platinum group metal. Right? When our skin color was primarily shades of green and blue, magnesium was the controlling element of the biology. Now that iron is, instead of tarnishing green or shades of blue, we rust brown or shades of brown. Or as my man like to say, shades of wheat.
Right.
We are just shades of wheat. But the oldest genetics has been exposed to the most challenges to the genetics, to the immune system. The longer your genetics been here, the more it has a built up collection of things it can defend against, and the more adaptable the genetic strain is. But that don't make you a better or a worse person. It just make you have a different genetic line than somebody else who probably can't fend off what you can fend off. Without going into some of the stuff. So some of the stuff required in allopathic medicine is not required in homeopathic medicine because you treating from a homeostatic perspective instead of a petro-medical perspective. The petro companies, a lot of the drugs use different stabilizers from fossil fuels, and a lot of the oil reserve goes to medical production, and we don't even know about it. They're extracting parts of the chemical compounds as stabilizers, as lubricants, as to create time-release capsules, all that kind of stuff. They use the petrol fuel. This is what they get their patents on, and this is how they continue to charge you money for your health when they're getting patents on their fossil fuel medications.
Indeed. I want to take it way back, and I mentioned the term root race, and I mentioned Madame Blavatsky, and I hear the majority of people on YouTube mention, because we're trying to figure like, who the hell are we, and why do they hate us so much? Why is there a global conspiracy to where it's like a color cast system, where the darker you are, the more it seems you're suppressed all over the world? Like, how the hell they got the entire globe on lockdown in terms of suppressing melanated people? So in an attempt to understand that, I wanted to go way back, and I hear about the Atlanteans, Rod. I hear about the Lemurians, but there's also the Hyperboreans, and there's also the Polarians. So let's talk a little bit about these root races, Rod. I hear you talk about the Atlanteans a lot in Thoth. I hear you talk about Lemuria. What's up with the Polarians, Rod? How far this shit go? What should we know about the Polarians?
That's Polarians, Tartarians, Hyperboreans. That's all Atlantis.
It's all Atlantis.
Just different people telling the story, and they're calling it something different. Right? When you say Tartarian, that means Western orientation of Rome. Barbary or barbarian, that's Eastern orientation of Rome. Right? So when you're talking Hyperborea, you're talking about north of Rome. But you're still using the Roman frame of reference, and that's the origin of skin-based racism was developed and refined in Rome, rolled out of Notre Dame University as a false narrative.
So it started in Rome, you're saying?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. But the caste scroll, which tells you how to create caste systems, you got to know how to create the caste system in order to make a caste system functional without you. It's the same as they say the Willie Lynch letter,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you read the Willie Lynch letter, they telling you about all of the dynamics of control you can have by using this paradigm of complexes, the inferiority complex, the superiority complex, but they call it to turn the families against each other first. So now they can't get along. So when they go in the streets, they don't know how to get along with the people in the community, right? So you creating conditions. You don't have to micromanage people if you can control the conditions that they express themselves in.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they always bring up the crabs in the bucket.
Mm-hmm.
He's totally out of his nature. He's panicking.
Mm.
That's why he's pulling you back now. Not because he got a innate animosity. He's trying to get free and he panicking. He don't know where to go because he don't supposed to be in the bucket. He's supposed to be in the vastness of the ocean.
Hmm.
Of course he's gonna pull you back down, right? And only intellectualizing being, probably some of the primates and a couple of the dolphins, will figure out, oh, we can't attack each other. They got us in this bucket.
Mm-hmm.
But the crab never dawned on him that they can form a crab chain and pull each other out if they knew they was in the bucket. They don't know where they at. They don't know that over the top of the bucket is freedom. They just hoping. Like a nigga on the prison yard, hoping that he could be on the other side of the fence.
Mm-hmm. Right. What would you I had a conversation with a priestess, I said Ra Men yesterday about the whole 666
Mm-hmm.
thing, and listening to the teachers like Bobby and they always said that is describing the carbon molecule. 6
Mm-hmm.
protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons. What is the future of the carbon molecule? They're saying that we're going from carbon based to, and I might have asked you this before, from carbon based to what's that word they use, family?
Crystalline.
It's crystalline based. Is this something, if we're going to from carbon to crystalline, are we going back to the future? When were we crystalline before? If we're talking about Atlantis, Lemuria, the Polarians and all that, when was we crystalline beings? At what point in history?
That was during the Atlantis period. That's why crystalline beings and carbon-based beings don't behave the same. Carbon-based beings is more volatile chaos energy.
Oh.
Crystalline is more in line with the, because you got to remember, your DNA is made up of crystal forms of amino acids.
Right.
Crystalline amino acids. That's what make your DNA up.
Mm-hmm.
And we was externally focused, which made us skin-based.
Right.
Which was part of the racist doctrine to get you to focus on the skin.
Right.
Crystalline, you more internal based. You looking at everything from the inside out, not the outside in. And now you can see with your spiritual eye, or what they call your crystal eyes, your Ujek and Uraeus, with your higher wisdom and your controlled lower nature. Right? They always tell us about the cobra on the crown, but they never tell us about the vulture.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Your lower nature. The vulture is the lower nature that you conquered.
Mm-hmm.
And the cobra is your higher nature that you've mastered. It's two different struggles going on in the individual. And W.B. Bush wrote about it. He called it the warring soul.
Right.
Right? The part of the self that want to go along with society at large, and the part of the self that want to truly express itself from its purest source. Right? So you're talking your spiritual self versus your ego self. Your ego is the sum total of everything that you've ever been told about yourself that may or may not be true, but you accepted it as so, because that defined who you was from the external world's perspective. So you're trying to live your life fitting into the perspective of everything you agreed to in your ego, and you haven't even tested it to see if it's compatible with who you are.
Very interesting. Let's go through a couple of historical terms, Rod. We're talking about melanin. We're talking about race. And once again, family, if you're just joining us, there was a Senate hearing with RFK. I advise y'all to go see what's going on. Very interesting things have been happening since Trump has been president. I cannot lie. He's really shaking things up. Some people don't like it. Some people do like it. But things are being shaken up. That's one thing we all could agree on, whether you like it or not like what's going on.
You remember I told you as soon as he take office, everything gonna speed up.
Yeah, you did say that. Indeed. Let's go through a couple of historical terms to try to figure out who we are, where we come from, and how we got here, Rod. Let's talk, and this is a term me and you talk about on the phone. We haven't talked about on the internet, Neanderthals. Now, that was a term, a lot of brothers use that term to insult white people sometimes. Oh, that fucking Neanderthal, pardon the language. And I had a conversation with you, and you're like, nah, the black people was a Neanderthal. So
when the Neanderthal was present, they was here before the original race called the moon race. Today we call them white people. But back then we used to call them albinos, albions. Right? They wasn't here. If you look up the time frame, matter of fact, I'm gonna go to it so I can tell you. We know from historical record there was no pale faces on planet Earth before 8,400 years ago.
So they're a young race. They got fresh legs.
Yeah, the newest race.
New kids on the block.
Yeah. So the Homo sapiens, the hominin species that existed for at least 200,000 years throughout Europe and Western Asia and disappeared 27,000 years ago. So that was 8,500 years ago from 27,000. That's about 18,000 years before paleface emerged. The last Neanderthal was here. Right. All peoples on the planet Earth was melanated, and it was intervention in laboratories that caused the lower spectrum of the DNA to outwardly express. Everything that you see in the human arena is on the DNA of the great mother, the first mother. All of your DNA traits, the full spectrum, from your lightest skin to your darkest skin, from your tightest curl hair to your straightest hair, it's all in her DNA. Right? Bobby Hemmings said it was a woman walking around with universes in her uterus. In America. And when y'all figure out who she is, she's the mother of all of us. She don't take no sides in sibling rivalry. She tell y'all to sort that stuff out, and y'all come to me when y'all know how to act right. We got to get over this racist doctrine because it's a critical mechanism of divide and conquer.
Right.
And as Dr. Neely Fuller said, if you don't understand white supremacy is a military strategy. If you don't understand white supremacy, everything that you think you understand is actually confusing.
Yes. Okay.
White supremacy is codified and called the protocols of the wise men or the learned elders of Zion. And the rollout to it is the morals and dogma of Albert Pike. The battleground is a corporation known as the United States, the interim government for the last hurrah of the Great War.
Which is the Great War, which is
the 6,000-year reign of the people that was antithesis to Earth, the inverted people,
so
from the mirror universe.
So even when we the fifth root race they say is the Aryans. So even the Aryans, original Aryans, were melanated people then.
They still is. The original Aryans, they called them the Untouchables of India. They call them Dravidians. They look like the Jackson 5s from the early 70s. They whole bloodline. Some of them got wavy hair and they dark. Some of them darker than us. Rich, make me and you look light skinned.
Oh man. Oh man. This is some. All right. So another term. You seen the video with um Noble Ample, and he mentioned Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Now, people said he was a Melungian. That's not a term we hear about anymore. What are Melungians, Rod Hayes? And who were the Melungians?
See, there's so many different names.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep up with them. That one is not one we use a lot. Yeah, see, those was just another name for mixed people. People that come from a diversified genetic stock. It's like calling them a mutt.
Mulatto. Like, okay. The current
Mm.
term for that would be mulatto.
No, mulatto, you could be 50% and you can look heavily melanated or lightly melanated and be a mulatto.
Right.
That means you have 50%.
Right.
To be
Right.
a quadroon, meaning you 1/4.
Mm-hmm.
To be an octoroon, meaning you 1/8. But remember, the doctrine is one drop of blood,
Mm-hmm.
right? So even if you 1/8, you still could classify as so-called black.
Yeah, you mentioned Elvis some earlier. Somebody said Elvis was Melungian. Would you classify him as Melungian, Elvis?
He would easily fall in it. That was the name given to the people that mixed in the Appalachians region.
Right. Right. Indeed. Yeah, this is like wow, I'm glad having this conversation with you. Let me ask you in terms of the when I think you called it the flash flood or when the ice age.
Yeah, that was after the war. That was the nuclear winter after the last Anunnaki Great Holocaust War.
Okay, a time frame. We're looking at 10,000 years. 10,000 years ago, Rod.
Yeah, you can just look up the beginning of the last ice age to give you the time frame.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, so it lasted from about 115,000 to 11,700 years ago.
Damn, the ice age was that long, Rod?
Yeah,
So what the hell was going on the planet? If there's a whole ice age for 100,000 years, what's happening on the planet
it,
at that time?
it was a nuclear winter.
A nuclear winter. And
Yeah.
okay, so this nuclear winter was caused by the Anunnaki.
It was caused by the last Anunnaki's war, what they call the Great Holocaust, also known as the Verminus War. The Verminus Sutras write about it. Those were the Aryan races in India who
Yeah.
was writing about it back then, and they left the text to tell some of the story, but it was more than them that tell the story.
Hmm. Damn.
They only give you bits and pieces, like in the Bible, Sodom and Gomorrah. They don't tell you that was a nuclear disaster.
Sodom and wow.
Then you got the remnants of nuclear war all over Saharan Africa.
Yeah.
You know, in the pyramid complex, the Mediterranean is filling in a crater from a bomb. Mount Vesuvius was blown because the crater began to leak into the inner earth, so they had to patch it with the lava from Mount Vesuvius.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had the Gulf of America, formerly known as the Gulf of Mexico, as a crater. That's not even a secret. They already know that's part of regular science. Meteor struck where the Mediterranean is, meteor, and what meteors? Those was atomic bombs.
Who was the Anunnaki beefing with? At the
They
time of
fighting
this?
each other. They was having sibling rivalries in a fight for dominance within an internal family, and they used people like chess pieces to play the war out in the open, in the general population. So you got them controlling the war by nobody not knowing that the war is taking place. But the ultimate end game is to wake up from the slumber of the Piscean age in the artificially induced nuclear winter in order for us to come back to our senses as to who we were as eternal beings. We always been, we gonna always be, but we didn't always have bodies. Meat modems, earth rovers.
Since we're so familiar with this vehicle, we call the Earth Rovers. We done had some good shows about this vehicle we call the human body, right? I mean, we done did about 4 or 5 different segments on it, man, and just touched on it from different angles, man. It's been dope. What vehicle did we use before the human body, Rod?
We whole like when you're not in the physical body, you was called a whole light being. Or etheric being.
I thought you was gonna say something like dragons or some shit like that, Rod.
No, dragon is a metaphor, comparative analysis. It don't mean dragons didn't exist. But when you say we were dragons, that means we spit fire when we talk. We masters, we high chiefs. Right? Dragon mean master. Master with the power to control and speak into existence a thing was commonly referred to in Kemet as Husia, exceptional or authoritative utterance, exceptional insight. That make you a dragon.
Yeah, y'all. This is the man. So, all right. So when the nuclear winter thing, that is a very interesting part of history that a lot of people don't know about. When the nuclear winter was coming to an end, and on Google it says the ice age ended around 11,000 years ago. What's the civilization that popped up on the scene? The first civilization once this nuclear ice age ended, Rod, this nuclear winter.
So Atlantis was still operational. It's just a lot of its metropolises had been rendered useless through warfare. Right? So now we coming from out of the ice age 11,000 years ago, and this is when you see the rise of Kemet. The onset of modern history, the settling of Sumeria. Right? So all it is, like if you go back to the first dynastic period, that's not the first dynasty. They had kings lists with kings that lived and ruled for thousands of years because we was living back then. It was called the forever time, or the Tepi, I think is how you pronounce it. Right, the eternal time, the time where the physical body, if you had a proper diet, you could homeostasis set in, and you know how to maintain the balance, then your body could live for a prolonged time. And then you had the aid of secondary avatars to use too. While this one getting repaired in the sarcophagi, I can get up in another body and walk around like I ain't in there getting worked on.
Ain't that some shit? So it's gonna go back to that, Rod?
We still had the technology. It was just frozen in Antarctica. They got it now.
They got the technology in Antarctica.
Yeah. Shit. They thought them people out. They the ones telling them all the moves to make. They thought when Richard Burton went down to Antarctica to see what they was doing down there, he discovered that it was frozen over. It was flash froze. People was in the middle of the street. They never get to move. They walking down the street in motion and frozen. That means they was frozen instantly. Now they need to know how to throw them out. This is where you get the cryostasis from. We ain't know nothing about no cryostasis until we got there messing with the people in Antarctica. They frozen and telepathic at the same time. Let that sink in.
Woo. Yo, family, ain't this is some interesting? This is the history that is heavily suppressed.
Listen, when they thawed them out, they told us over here that these people came from Africa and adapted extremely well to the cold of Antarctica. And they called them the Bazinga tribe. That's some BS. They was already in Antarctica, and they already told them how to thaw them out. They already had this technology. This is nothing new. Nothing new under the sun, Brother Rich. We did all of this stuff a bazillion times. But it was the same but different every time.
Right. The same but different every time. You know what I think is confusing, Rod? All right, so the shit you talking about, Rod, and I always be like, yo, Rod, you be saying some out of this world shit, Rod. And you talking about, nuclear winners and Anunnaki beings and people being able to use different avatars, different bodies. I think what's confusing to melanated people in particular, I think white people could gravitate, when I'm quote, white, black, they could grasp concepts easier sometimes because of their lack of, I guess, indoctrination. Like we were indoctrinated with religion. Everything is just evil to us. Everything is the devil to us. And
that's the barrier of fear.
Yeah. And but this is what I was gonna say. Some of our master teachers, Rod, like let's say Dr. Ben, let's say Dr. John Henry Clark, they didn't say the stuff you saying. So when you come after them, right? And I'm not even talking about Dr. York now. Let's just say Dr. Ben, Dr. John Henry Clark. When you come after them and say this stuff, the first thing people think is, well, hey, the master teachers, Dr. Ben, Dr. John Henry Clark, Ivan Van Sertima, so on and so forth. They didn't say it, so this dude has got to be out his MFM mind because they didn't say it. So my thing is like, why you think they didn't talk about some of this stuff?
A lot of the stuff I'm talking about, they make mention of.
Okay.
Right. When we starting at history beginning, modern history, right, at the first dynasty of Egypt. That's when we got the first clock of modern time.
Dynasty of Egypt.
Right. So, because this is the standard of history. Anything before that is called antediluvian history.
Antediluvian. Yeah.
Which means before the flood.
Right.
Which means when the ice finally melted from the artificially induced nuclear winter, the melting of the ice caused mud to be everywhere. It wasn't a literal flood; it was frozen.
So it wasn't a literal flood like how we think it was.
No, everything was frozen, and then when the nuclear winter, it can't break until it cleaned the radiation up enough. This is what switches your genetics, by the way. Radiation is what causes an unnatural change in DNA. And this is what caused us to go from magnesium-based to iron-based. Because we was originally breathing ozone, the double O oxygen molecule. Now we breathe in the single oxygen molecule. So it changes the rate of combustion in the biology. When we using magnesium, right, we giving off radiant shades of blue and green. We look like that movie, The Avatar, except we not tall. With tails, we standing around with blue skin and afros, blue skin and straighty hair. But we all had shades of blue to green. This is why you see that Osiris is olive green. You see Krishna is baby blue. Sometimes he's navy blue. Kali Ma, she's blue, almost black. So the different shades, because it's mixing with the melanin. The plants still use the dominant magnesium. That's why they have chlorophyll instead of blood. Right? In the plant blood, chlorophyll can clean your human blood. Right? So this is where we get to taking out the sea moss and the sour sop and all that. That's because the nutrition in the plant's chlorophyll have all of the frequencies to correct the anomalies in the genetics of the blood-based human. Because it remembers, it can communicate with the DNA going back to before we switched from magnesium to iron, going from shades of blue to shades of wheat.
So Rod, so if we, we went from magnesium to iron, the air was different. You said we went from breathing magnesium to breathing oxygen. You saying, right?
No, that's the base metal of the body.
Okay.
It's the metal that causes us to turn brown with our melanin now instead of green.
Okay, is the
That's
iron.
the iron.
The iron.
The magnesium is when we used to be green. Right. Today, when the baby's born with the green patch on them or the heavy magnesium concentration, because they go through it in the womb. All stages of human evolution is gone through in the womb for 9 months before the baby is born.
Right.
And it's a period of time where the baby in the womb is either pale gray or some shade of green. They call it the Mongolian spots. But if you remember, they going from magnesium based to copper based because mama's DNA said in order to survive in this oxygen ratio to carbon, you have to be able to process faster than the magnesium. So the iron is going to replace it. Then the baby switches over in his DNA structure in order to facilitate iron as opposed to magnesium. So now the skin begins to go from them shades of green to shades of brown as the baby assimilates the iron and it puts the magnesium as the support metal. Like you can't process none of the metals in the body without the magnesium.
So Rod, if we're going back to the golden age, are we also going to go back to how we look during the golden age and go from brown back to being green because that was our original color?
Not necessarily. It depends on what Mother Earth do with the atmosphere. Right. If she turn the temperature up, we might go to shades of orange and red. Which would mean that she's replacing it with probably another trace metal that tarnishes red, like it might be silver or something.
Right.
It has a red tint to the. So we come from shades of orange and red. This is why the skin-based racism is so weird to old souls. Old souls looking at it like that's the dumbest thing I ever seen in my life. But the ones who was the new souls, the ones who had the Iceman inheritance that suffered from the psychopathic racial personality, they the ones who had to go through the catharsis of being a piece of trash to other people so that they can internalize the suffering so that they can learn to have compassion. We're looking at conditions of the newest addition to the human family, burning off their bad karma, and we build up pre-karma as a side effect.
Wow. Damn, Ron.
And when the last become first, that's when we all rich.
Right. Let's go to Antarctica, Rod. We always hear about Antarctica when we go deep in ancient times. A lot of us marvel at the pyramids in Egypt. What pyramids are at the bottom in the water in Antarctica? What civilization?
They got them on land and in the water. That was one of the biggest metropolises during the age of the Atlantis. We didn't call it Atlantis. We called it the Atlantis.
Why?
That was the name of it. And then you had cities like Undal and Untal, right? So the city that's became known as the Hidden Lands, the Amenti. Amenti means the hidden land, the unknown lands. The unknown lands is talking about that thin place between spiritual and physical, where people keep seeing this infinite plane. Because they're looking at the full spectrum of the timeline from outside the timeline, so they think it's an infinite plane, but we really in the torsion field.
Right.
The bottom or the top of the torsion field is the stem of the apple that we would call Antarctica. But it's a hole down there that takes you into the inner earth. There's one in the North Pole too. That's how you know we live in the torsion field. But when we go into our awakening, we see the infinite plane. And we know what we've seen with our spiritual eye is more dependable than the physical. So the ones of us that believe it's flat, they convinced to that because they seen the probability spectrum and timeline, and they can see it as an infinite plane in their spiritual senses. So their spiritual senses is more important than their physical senses is to them. They mean they would rather be spiritually in tune than to be educated by the world around them.
Somebody said Superman spaceship crashed in Antarctica.
It depends on which one of the parts of it you're watching, because some of them is happening in the North Pole, right? But it's still in the icy climate. It's a crystal castle. If you pay attention to it, it's a crystal castle, right? It's in the cold climate. That's the castle of the princess of the North, the Notre Dame, the Dame of the North. Who is the Dame of the North? She's the princess where the ice is. She's the ice princess. When she get ready to be crowned queen, she becomes Isis, the embodiment of full divine feminine. It's all part of the mapping ancient history in order to restore back Earth to the original people. It's the perpetual process of redemption. And that's why they always talking about crucified saviors, because we was under a blood oath contract that relied on crucified blood to make us comply, because we didn't comply without that. Because the blood of the righteous shall not be spilled in vain. Both the good and the bad said that.
Right. Since we talking about melanin, the different colors we were throughout the history of humanity in this realm. You mentioned blue, you mentioned green. We know movies are oftentimes not entertainment, and the secret societies and even CIA damn controls Hollywood, and they put a lot of history within the movies disguised as entertainment. What is the deal when you see characters, Rod, like blue characters, like you mentioned Avatar? When you see Sonic the Hedgehog, they done made 3 damn movies about Sonic, cartoons and video games. When you see things like the Smurfs, what do you think when you see these blue entities on camera?
You don't know where the Smurfs come from, huh?
I've heard it. I done forgot. I done heard so much shit. I heard it. People say it. Yeah.
In the Appalachian Mountains, when Scott and Scotia escaped the assassins from Europe, Vikings brought them over here. Where Scotia went, they named it later on Nova Scotia. Where Scotia went, we call Appalachia. When you go in the Appalachian Mountains, they was being sunburned real bad. Big Mama told them to drink silver water. Silver turn your skin blue. You can look it up now. Silver turn your skin blue. And so when the settlers came, they thought it was unreal. You know, Papa Smurf, his hair was red when he was a little boy, but now he's an old man. Now it's all Snow White. Hillbillies back off in the bayou or back off in the hollers down in Kentucky and Tennessee, drinking silver water in order to create a artificial melanin barrier.
Man,
they didn't have screen sunblock back then.
Right. What let me ask you this, Rock, because you somebody, they say in the chat, they like you cooking. Do you, I might ask you this before, have you ever remote viewed before, Rod? Because you know of a lot of history, brother.
I study remote viewing until I got good at it, and I found that it worked real good with my tarot cards.
So what did you find out when you was remote viewing with your tarot cards, brother?
Different stuff I asked. different questions. I haven't pulled much a deck of cards out, Brother Rich, in about 4 years
Mm.
to do a reading because they be too spooky accurate to me.
Damn.
So the message come in slower, and I can read it better if I don't use the cards, because then I get sensory overload,
Mm.
and then I see too much, and then I be like, I'm gonna put all this stuff together, and then I can't rest until I put it all together.
Right. Somebody said, why was there only one female Smurf?
That's Hollywood, because Hollywood want everybody to be tutti fruities.
Man, we done went to man. All right, so Rod, all right, check this out. Since we going to we going in a lot of places tonight, family, to just discover our origins and who the different races and species we've been through time. Blue, green, black, olive, white, all these different colors. Rod, let's go to another cartoon, the Thundercats. Historically, if you're talking about the Anunnaki, people say the Thundercats represent the Larians, I think. Larians or Larian.
Lyrans.
Where do they pop up in history? If we talking about the Anunnaki, where the hell do they, because they supposed to be older than the Anunnaki, I believe. So where do they pop up on
So
planet?
first of all, the Anunnaki is it's like a United Nations of galactic species.
Okay. Now that's a great way to say it. Oh, and all right, I'm gonna let you answer this. Then I gotta follow. Go ahead. I'm excited. Go ahead, bro.
Okay, so you know who Sekhmet is?
Yeah.
The priestesses of Sekhmet were taught originally by Lyran priestesses. Then under Sekhmet, you have other cat goddesses like Bast. Right? Bast is the defense, the Lyran defense team. They the stealth bombers of the house of the cat.
Mm-hmm.
The ones who carry the black cat totem is in the form of the Black Panther is the priest, because the Black Panther is the black leopard, and the leopard is the garb of the ancient priesthood. So you know they totem animal, you know they purpose here. Like Tupac's totem animal is the cat, but his spirit animal is the dragon,
See
the
this, right?
shining serpent.
See this?
Yeah, the tiger.
But go ahead, though. I had to show
Yeah.
this.
You know they got black tigers too.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, they still call Black Panthers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But see, down you coming from the east under your ancient Arabic order of the nobles of the mystic shrine, with the simulation of the crescent moon as the fangs of the Bengal tiger,
Mm-hmm.
right? The K9s.
Mm-hmm.
K9 is 9/11, by the way.
The K9, yeah.
K9 is 9/11. K is the 11th letter.
Right.
Right. So it's 11/9, but on the flip, it's 9/11. Okay, so the Lyrans is over the spiritual initiation rites and training of the house of the cat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's who got usurped out of Vatican City. Vatica is the cat they was all obsessed with. And that's why they became cataholics, or as you say, Catholic.
Oh shit, man! Come on, man. Oh, he took it there, y'all. He
That
took it
was the
to
that was
origin.
the sacerdotal seat.
He took it there. The cataholics or the Catholics. He took it there. Ah, man, you took it there, Rod. Oh man, shit. This
I
is
had,
a
a good,
classic show, y'all.
I had some good master teachers.
This
I'm
is a
just
classic show.
I'm just a class tutor.
Man. Yo, so was the Great Pyramid in Egypt? The Great Pyramid in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Was that left by the Larians or Larians? Was that left there by them?
No, that was left there by Tahuti.
Because they say it was a cat or something like that with wings or some shit. Like I don't heard a lot of different things, man.
No, the Sphinx was a female. All of the Sphinx of the world was females.
Right.
They later they tried to alter the faces of them and then even cast male sphinxes. But the
Mm.
Sphinx was the Leo waiting on the return of the three kings, which is represented by the three pyramids, which is represented by the three stars of Orion's belt. The jewels of the great father who walk among the skies is the three high chiefs, which is the three sky chiefs. And the three sky chiefs is represented by as above, so below. They walk in human form as three chiefs, but they also represent a spiritual frequency. And the one in the middle, right, that's the one who's responsible to hold the love key. So you look at the symbolism of the three kings biblically, and the symbolism, the frankincense, the gold, and I think the other one was silver. The frankincense is the spiritual essence. That's why they use it in all of the rituals. It's symbolism of spiritual essence. The gold is the heart chakra, right? And the heart chakra is the wealth of eternity if you can find true love, right? Searching for a heart of gold.
Mm.
And the silver is your connection to your motherland, right? So it's your brother from another mother, and y'all got to redeem the great mother in order to restore the great father. Takes you back to the holy drama, Isis, Set, and Osiris. Hey, look, Rich, somebody, a couple guys try to correct me about Set because I keep telling them that the biblical Satan is Set, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they think that what I'm telling them is who Set was. And I'm not telling them who Set was. I'm telling them how they used Set's name.
Mm.
You got to understand, they took our stories from ancient history, rewrote them and reworked them to give us a whole different story, but leave enough of it for us to find the source information.
Mm. Yeah, man. Wow. So all right. A lot of people. All right. So we've. I mean, we at the hour mark, family. I mean, this was like. I mean, Rod was sizzling all night. I mean, he was smoking all night with this information. Um, and we talked a lot about race and the concept of race, and when the concept was introduced in the different colors we've experienced. I'm gonna take a couple of questions from the people, but one last question I want to ask is: we see, the whole race paradigm and what that has done. When was the first? They say that the oldest war that took place was between man and woman. When was it, we talked about this nuclear war that happened, this nuclear winter? When was the first time that man and woman went at it? And if we're gonna talk about this great mother so much, I guess the divine feminine lost power, if that's the proper way to say it.
That takes us right back to Lord Set. The word En means Lord in Semitic language, ancient Semitic language and hieroglyphics in Sumerian. En means Lord or master of something. And Set is the antithesis of Osiris. He is the uncle who comes to steal his brother's throne, right? The origin of the story is the biblical war in heaven that landed on earth, was about birthright to the earth, mitochondrial right to rule, and as the creator gods, goddesses, gods, and the ruler god is the Y chromosome rulership right. Earth being a feminine planet supposed to be under matriarchal order in order for it to have heavenly qualities in the physical form. So the war that started on heaven was actually a war in Nibiru. between siblings, twins, a brother and a sister, and the brother did not want to relinquish the jurisdictional authority of Earth to the matriarchy. So he tried to instill his wife from a mirror universe as the divinity of the Earth to create the 6,000-year rule. But that's all after the war took place, started on Nibiru, is where they set it off. And then they end up coming to Earth in conclusion to fight it out in the Pleiadian light lock that we call the Van Allen belt. So we sitting here looking at the aftermath of all of the first war, and all wars being battles in that Great War.
What was the name of the brother and sister for those who don't know, Rod?
It's written in the story of Inanna, which is supposed to be the story of Inanna and Enlil's conflict. So when the uncle went to take power from the mother, the son overheard it. And they saying Michael, but it wasn't Michael. It was Michelle. Because all of those archangels that they talk about was females that guarded the throne of the Great Mother. And that's why they was like, this angel sit on this hand of God, and this angel sit on this, and this angel the foot of God. All they telling you is they position around the throne to protect the Great Mother.
So you trying to tell me right now, Rod, that Archangel Michael was really Archangel Michelle?
Yeah.
Well, there you go again. There you go again with this shit, man.
Okay, you got to understand Anunnaki psychology and how they go to war.
Right.
They like to change the name, right? Or they like to name somebody, they want to replace somebody the same name. Mm-hmm. When they call that beheading of the god. If when they sing Medusa, Medusa just means she was a Psi priestess, rank number 10, meaning that she was the Alpha and Omega of Psi priestess, meaning that she had the right to train Gorgons under her. That wasn't her name. That was her rank and her title because of her rank, Medusa. She was a Gorgon. A Gorgon is a goddess of the water, birth priestess. Psi, like Psi-Netta. Psi means God. Psi-Netta means God of the birth priestesses, or spirit or energy of the earth priestesses. So you have Psi-Netta. Psi is the doula priestesses, the birth bringers and the welcoming of the children into the new world. And these are the ones that became nuns when the Catholic Church was hostily taken over. But before that, they was the priestesses of Mami Water, the Delphi priestesses, the oracles of the earth, the 12 daughters of Isis. Right? Now, they've been relegated to the primordial abyss, so now they just call them the Noon. They sent them back to the Great Mother. They put them all in black, but they're supposed to be wearing white because they're supposed to be welcoming the light. Switcheroo.
Man, oh man, we're gonna get to I ain't gonna be on here too long tonight. Me and Rod getting ready to do something. I've been talking about a while, but we're finally gonna do this Patreon this coming week. Family, we're doing this Patreon part 2 to the ESP. It's finally going down. Telepathy, extrasensory perception, all that good stuff. We're gonna do the part 2 to that. It's gonna be absolutely insane. Another announcement before I get to the Q&A. The non-ether. Yo, Rod, did you see the non-ether God Fest about did you hear about that yet, Rod?
Yeah, a couple people called me and told me about it.
Oh, it's going down big time, Rod. Oh, it's going down big time, Rod. Rod, it's going down big time, man. Yo, bro, man, the people that's gonna be there. Oh my God.
When is it?
February 8th. I believe that, yeah, it was in 8 days. Yeah, February 8th, next Saturday. Yeah, next Saturday. We got Griff, we got Billy Carson, Dr. Be Serious, Sharif Bey, Sister Myra, Aaron Lyons, Soleil, Red Pill, Blue Pill, Hank Rising Sun, B-Dell, shit. I just yesterday, the priestess, I said Rob Men's gonna be there. The lineup is absolutely insane. Loaded Lux, the battle rappers, Loaded Lux gonna be there. Cam Botter's gonna be there. Rob, man, this
Hey,
is
you had me at Aaron Lane's.
man.
You know that's my girl there. You know, when you see people channeling,
Yeah.
and you know from the message that the channel is crystal clear,
Mm-hmm.
man, that makes like somebody else can do some work other than me.
Are you talking
And I
about
got Aaron Lane,
Aryan? Yeah. She's sharp with her channeling, right? She's sharp with
man,
it.
she the MF and true.
Damn, yeah, she's sharp with it. She is sharp
But
with it.
she had me when you asked her about the diet, and she talked about you're supposed to instinctually eat. Because
Right.
most people be trying to push the vegan thing so hard because the vegan thing then turned into a cult.
A religion, yeah, yeah,
You know, no religion, a full blown cult. They will F you up
yeah,
about going against the vegan,
yeah.
right? They starting to get violent with it,
Mm, mm, mm.
you know. But they got to remember that half of the vegans wasn't always vegans.
Mm-hmm.
Different people was at different levels of development. If you want to help them to the next level, and you want them to, they might not supposed to be vegan.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody ain't supposed to follow the same diet. That's why they have a book called "Eat Right for Your Blood Type."
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because they show you the diet that's most compatible with your ancestral program. Blood type is altered through diet.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Let's get to some quick Q&A before we get out of here, family. Absolutely amazing show. Oh yeah, what I was gonna say with the God Fest, it's gonna be on Patreon. So that's another thing. If you are a Patreon, it's gonna be recorded, and I'm gonna throw it on the Patreon for the family. So if you're a Patreon member, you will be able to view the non-ether God Fest. All right, family. Let's get to some okay, we're gonna start with the question I see right in front of me right now. Static Shock says, who are the modern day Washita people and what is their importance today?
All of the tribes are scattered across the land. And the Washita was a family network. Most of them kept the last name in English is commonly called Washington. The name Washington comes from the name Washita, which comes from the name Wachita, right? And the bigger the family get, you have what's called sub tribes, where Uncle Philip didn't want to stay in Big Papa house. He got too big for his britches. So Big Mama sent him to go set up another farm over there in another family unit. He became the chief of his own clan and he gave it his own name. So you can't say no one people is any one thing now because of the fact of us being scattered across the land. But we can trace back to where our longest and said, like I can trace back to Macomb, Magnolia, Mississippi on my motherland, and back to Canton on my fatherland. Right. So I know that on my fatherland had a heavy Chata influence, and one of my aunties said she was Chata, one of my father's aunties, and told me we were Chata. On my mother's side, she was down there, and I don't have the. They say we Cherokee, but there's no record of Cherokee that I was able to find from my grandfather's land down in Magnolia, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
Right? A lot of them are Chickasaw and Chata and just Mississippi. Right? Even when you say Mississippian, you could just as well say Olmec, Inca, Mayan, Aztec. It's the same people in different time periods. And that's why they try to trick us and tell us they different people at different times.
Mm-hmm. Next question, Rod. So, they want to know who was the black lady found on the crashed spacecraft on the backside of the moon?
They call her Mona Lisa. And she had this particular breathing apparatus on and looking apparatus. I'm not sure. I don't think they found that on the moon. I think they found her in Arizona.
Mm.
That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But the moon is a whole spaceship, so
Right. Next question. This is I don't. They just said, "How about the Negas?" Well, I don't know what they want to know. It's kind of
the
a trick
Nagas
question.
kings was from the Indus Valley.
Uh-huh.
It was a time where world power was shifted from empire to empire. The Nagas kings is when the empire that we call India today, which is the Ayurvedic line of kingship that was handed down through the Aryans. Those were the Nagas kings. Those are the same ones we was talking about earlier, Rich. The Davidians, the Untouchables, the ones that like the Jacksons back in the early 70s when they had the afros and the big nose.
Right. Indeed. Let's get to this next question. What's your take on multiple plane crashes as another plane just crashed in Philly?
Yeah, the chaos on the way out. The fallen system got to create the chaos, but it's cold. Like Phase One did a good breakdown on the ritualistic aspect. D Dale did one, and then this is another sister. She on my I was posted hers on my Facebook page. They all gave good breakdowns on the symbolism behind it, right? So I give you them as references because they gonna give you more details than I'm gonna give you right now because I'm in my dilly gap mode.
Okay. Let's get to the next question. What was the relationship between the Mississippians and the Arawak?
Um, most of the tribes was cordial before they begin to be set against each other by the invaders. Even the warring tribes, when we was warring with each other, we wasn't nothing but a fist fight and everybody went home. It was when the settlers came, put guns in our hands, and we started killing each other.
Somebody, hold up. Somebody asked about your cash app. I done wrote it so many times. I remember. Hold up. Sick ape, right, Ron?
Yeah.
Let me put that up here. Yeah. For those who wanna inquiring about supporting the brother Rod Hayes, you can hit the cash app up. $ SIKAPE is the way that you can support this genius brother we got here. I don't know what to call him, man. But the brother he was channeling. He was tapped in tonight. He was definitely tapped in. He, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what he's smoking on, but god damn, the brother was tapped in tonight. So yeah, you can support the brother with Cash App, brother. Show the brother some love. This was a solid hour of information that I think every melanated folk, now we're all melanated, it's just different varying levels of melanin. But everybody, human being, should hear this show that was broadcast tonight. So make sure you'll support the brother $ SIKAPE. We're gonna do two more questions, y'all. I can't be on here too long, and I don't want to keep the brother too long. We're gonna do two more, then we're gonna get out of here. Somebody, I don't. Do you know who this is? Somebody said, "Can you talk about the Rainbow Warriors prophecy?" What's that, Rod? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, that was when at the end of the Piscean age, the native elders, our elders from this land, prophesied that it will be a rainbow of tribes from different skin colors.
Mm.
And they would come together in the time of the crystal generation to usher in another world, a better world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an old prophecy. And most of it, if you asking about it, you already know what the prophecy is.
Mm. Indeed, indeed. Let's get to another question. Okay. Somebody said, Who are the Abyssinians / Ethiopians in relation to us? Are they dirty Moors?
The Ethiopians is a whole different genetic stock from the ones we call dirty Moors, and they are different genetic stock from us. They got a different fatherland. So mitochondrially, we might be more related than we is by Y chromosome. And that was once known as the land of Inki. In the theosophy, they called him the old man Africa. But Africa wasn't called Africa before the Berlin Conference. So, but it was called Eastern Ethiopia was Indus Valley, and Ethiopia proper was the Ethiops that the Greeks renamed. Land of the burnt faces.
Okay.
Egyptos, land of the dark faces.
Let's get to another question. Let's see. I think Rod answered this one already. The black no, yeah, he already talked about the black nobility. So I'm gonna try to get to a question that. All right. Somebody said, "Will we ever have access to other lands outside the Antarctica ice wall?"
You got access now if you can afford to get there. But the wall is not a wall; it's a shelf.
It's a what?
A shelf.
What you mean?
You ever see the that tree stump they call the mountain in Arizona?
Yeah.
You see how the top of it is flat, but the sides of it go up. Right, that's the shelf. The top is the shelf.
Okay.
Right, what they call in the ice wall is just the outside of the freeze zone. Right, a lot of the icebergs over the millennia have broken off from there and floated into the oceans at different places and eventually melted.
Right.
But it's the wall has a shelf on the top that covers the land, most of the land of Antarctica. All of it not covered with ice, just most of it. But they came from a splash. So imagine a upsplash of water suddenly freeze. Right. And that's what happened because it pierced in the last Anunnaki war that caused the ice age, that nuclear winter, it shifted the earth in its atmosphere, like pushing the yolk outside of the egg. Right. And then it got flash froze. That's what make it be frozen.
All right. I think that is it, y'all. That is it. I guess this is a good way to conclude the show, Rod. They want to know, what are we supposed to be doing as a people right now to prepare for what's to come? This is the conclude the show tonight, y'all. What should we be doing to prepare for what's to come,
Rod? Study family banking, build stronger family ties, and communicate as much as possible with like-minded people in the open as much as possible. And don't fall for none of the fear tactics. And we good.
So we should be getting closer to our family, you saying?
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people don't fuck with their family, Rod. I'm sorry to tell you, man. Listen,
Rich, even if they don't mess with their own family, they mess with a family.
Yeah, you're right.
They got a family that they love. Like, this is the family I should have been born in.
Yeah.
That's the tribe energy. They tribing up doing that.
Right.
Your relatives is people you born with. Your friends is the family you pick, and your family is the ones that ride with you till the wheels fall off.
Right.
The bonds of affection is tied by the ties of loyalty. Right. And you know the ones that got your best interest at heart. Like anywhere I go, if I got a relative there, I can pull up and go get a blanket out the closet and lay down and go to sleep.
Right.
They're not gonna have no problem with it. But there's some people that can't do that.
Yeah.
They show up at their family house, they might meet firearms.
Yeah.
But everybody got a family that they click with.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why we never had orphans. Because somebody gonna take you in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the family dynamic is not gonna change. Family gonna have a family structure. They're gonna have strong ties. They're gonna enjoy each other. They're gonna commonly gather,
Mm-hmm.
and do what family do.
Indeed, indeed. Oh man, what a show, right, y'all? What we got? We got about 3,000 people in the chat. I know y'all enjoyed it. Y'all done stuck around, man. All 3,000 y'all done stuck around. Man, Rob, what a show, man. I'm glad I called you to do this show tonight. And I'm glad we chose the topic. Once again, family, me and Rob gonna do a part 2 to help us to tap into our ESP, extrasensory perception, telepathy, telekinesis, all that good stuff, all these abilities we got. We're gonna do a part 2 of my Patreon next week. Definitely make sure you're a part of Patreon, family. Also, the Not Eat the God Fest will be on Patreon as well. So you want to be a Patreon to get all of the goodies. All right. Rod, what any contact info you want to leave the people with before we get out of here?
They can find me on Facebook at Rod Hayes. My profile and background change often.
Yeah.
And you can find me on the Sick Eight on Instagram. Otherwise, you catch me here with Brother Rich or with the Young Elder over there.
Mm-hmm.
And occasionally other people invite me, and I show up there too. Shout
Indeed.
out to True Seekers 88. They had me on there a couple times on Rumble. Dr. Kia, she had me on a few times. She got a Rumble and a YouTube.
Okay.
So I be popping up here and there.
Indeed, indeed. Hey, my brother, keep up the great work, and I will see you next week for the Patreon. We'll set it up. I'll call you tomorrow to set something up for next week,
Okay.
bro.
Okay.
Appreciate it, my brother.
Yeah.
I will see y'all tomorrow, right, family? See y'all tomorrow. Peace.